Hello and welcome to Breaking Ground on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we chat to industry experts to get a view on what's happening on the ground and new trends emerging within the construction industry. The show is brought to you in partnership with Place Engage, a data-driven platform for more successful public consultation and community engagement for your next development project. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Cronin, Associate Director of Townmore, and Kate Fahey, Ireland's first female tower crane operator. You're both very welcome. Thank you for joining me today. This is a novelty we've been doing since COVID. We've been recording so much online. It's great to be in the room together. I'm delighted you could both join us. And today we're here to talk about a really exciting campaign that Townmore has launched in partnership with Kate called I'm in Construction. So Mark, you might just tell us a little bit about the campaign I'm in Construction. What is it? What does it mean?
It was born, I suppose, for multiple reasons. The lack of people in the industry. The lack of younger people coming into the industry is quite evident as well. And also a recent experience where we tried to launch a bursary scheme with second level students, encouraging them into the industry, encouraging them into third level education and construction. And we had an opening there for 10 second level students and very, very few applications. And also further to meeting with these schools and the students, the knowledge and understanding of our industry was really limited. So there's certainly a sense that perhaps firstly people don't know what the industry is. They don't know how much it's changed from what they believe it was 30 years ago or so, and they don't know the amount of options that are in it. So I suppose we're keen to demonstrate what it looks like in our lives every day to be in the industry, that it's a professional industry that offers a plethora of roles. It offers people the opportunity to travel, to get involved in very tangible exercise in terms of building buildings, which is really enjoyable compared to maybe some other industries, and also to ensure that we have a sustainable industry going forward, which is very challenged at the moment with the lack of people in it.
I think the not understanding the industry is such a recurring theme right now, and even how people come into construction. You didn't come into construction through engineering or the usual channels. What's your background?
I did a Bachelor of Business Studies in UL. And it was just by chance that I happened upon construction, probably about 16 or 17 years ago, and just really enjoyed it. And again, my major was in accountancy, and I kind of knew I wasn't all that interested in becoming an accountant, and happened upon this industry and kind of just really enjoyed how busy and diverse and dynamic it is, and particularly the fruits of your labour. So, you work hard on a project for 12, 18, 24 months, and you have a beautiful building to show at the end of it. So it's always nice to have a tangible result from what you do. So I suppose it does imply that people can study any kind of background within reason and end up in this industry and be successful in it and grow in it. Obviously the mainstay will be through construction related degrees, but there are options for people who maybe have done a more baseline degree and are looking to digress into something different.
I think that's a really interesting approach into construction, and it's, whenever we speak to people in construction, I'm always fascinated to know how they got into the career they did. And Kate, you're probably one of the most fascinating people that I've had the opportunity to spend time with and interview over the past year and 2 years now at this stage. You've had a really interesting journey into construction, again, perhaps not planned. So you might just talk us through your career journey so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So I originally was so focused on becoming a vet. I wanted to go to Budapest to study veterinary medicine, and the only reason really I'm in construction is because of COVID. My father didn't really want me going to Budapest alone during COVID time, so I decided to take a year out and work with him. So I was in the office in construction, and for the first while I absolutely hated it, dreaded going into work, did not want to go in. And then eventually, as I started to get more adventurous and go out on site, I really started to enjoy it. It was so interesting, and I don't think you can really put into words like how a site works unless you step out onto site. People think that they have an idea about what site's like, but they really don't until you step out on site. Like someone said to me lately, if you became a vet, how much would the anatomy of a cow change in the next 20 years versus how much would construction change? It's true, it's always changing, always evolving, so it's like a really exciting and interesting industry to be in. And especially now, in the times that we're in, there's so many opportunities and different careers in it, so it's a really interesting industry to be in.
I love that analogy about the cow, because you're right, the anatomy of an animal might not change, but construction is changing so rapidly. And for you, every time I talk to you, you're in a different part of the country, so you're travelling around working on different sites. So what's your everyday experience like in work?
So mainly it's just going to work, getting into a machine and driving the machine, but lately I've started looking at different options and different career paths, so I definitely want to kind of branch out and try something new in the construction industry, definitely. Like, I think now once I'm in it, I can't get out of it. So
I think it's interesting that your father is in construction and yet maybe wasn't encouraging you.
Well, I actually did construction as a subject in school as well, and I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I think even I had the view of construction as you're up at, like, especially in the winter, you're up before it's bright, you come home when it's dark, you're out in the cold, the rain, it's a horrible life. And I think seeing kind of when Dad was working like that, it just kind of turned me off it, and I just never looked into it. And in school as well, it was never encouraged. Like, the women were stopped going to the apprenticeship talks. Like, the women were told to be nurses or teachers, and the lads were pushed towards engineer, and like even apprenticeships are kind of frowned upon, which I think is ridiculous. You know, I think the more you can do, and the more you can do without going to college, if you're the type of person that learns, especially the way I am, I like seeing and doing things, and that's the way I learn. So I think that especially in construction, apprenticeships would be the way to go. Like, and start, like, there's so many apprenticeships coming out there now, and there's so many out there that it should really be a good industry to look into.
Mark, how does it make you feel when you talk about the bursaries that you were offering for secondary school students, when you're seeing the opportunities that Townmore has on sites right across the country, to hear that's and Kate, you're only within what, a year, 2 years out of school.
Yeah.
So to hear that's the experience, that's what secondary school students, your next generation of child, are learning.
It's frustrating. I think the recession of kind of 08 or so created a lot of misconceptions about the industry, and obviously there was a lot of that was born out of property development and so on, a lot of debt and issues, and it kind of muddied it a little bit for the wrong reasons. And I think it kind of, maybe a lot of parents and career guidance teachers and so on were pushing people away from this industry, and I think that was never quite salvaged since, and the viewpoint is a little bit archaic now. That was 15 years ago. Things have changed dramatically. So there's good stuff has come out of the recession, I think, in this industry. We've really embraced technology. We've really embraced using intelligence, off-site solutions, things like that, to be better at what we do, better quality, better safety. But we have a plethora of roles now that there's the misconception often that, you know, construction is boots on the ground, as you allude, up in the rain, covered in mud, and you're out laying blocks or laying bricks and so on. And there's a part of it that is that, the traditional trades, but there's so much more on offer now. So you have everything from BIM engineers to UX to AI is coming really strong in the industry. You have a lot more people office-based than were previously. Sites are much better set up, much safer. An awful lot of, we're seeing it outside the office here, like modular construction underway. And I think the industry is embracing that. It's also evident as well when you look at a lot of Irish contractors working across Europe, delivering data centres, delivering fantastic projects across Europe. And if you look at their turnover, for a lot of the top 50, their international revenue is a lot higher than their domestic revenue. So it shows how well our industry is thought of internationally, and often it's a disappointment that it's maybe frowned upon domestically here, when our international people across Europe and Scandinavia look at us as the leaders in this space. But I think at secondary school level, it's still a bit frowned upon as an archaic, tiring, hard industry. It has a lot more to offer, and I suppose as part of our campaign here in I'm Construction, we're trying to demonstrate the people who work in the office. We're trying to demonstrate that there's plenty of females in our industry. It's not just, it is still male dominated, but we're trying to break that down, and obviously Kate has done a wonderful job in that. I believe we were saying earlier, there's 2 further tower crane operators, female tower crane operators in Ireland since. So it's great to see these boundaries broken down and more people coming into the industry. We have female electrical apprentices on sites and things like that. It's great to see that these people feel it's okay to do it. It would certainly, as Kate alluded to, like it would be frowned upon for any females to take on an apprenticeship or things like that. Apprenticeships, I can recall probably in the early 2000s, the new baseline standard was nearly to get a degree. It went from kind of your leaving cert to getting a degree and so on. But there's a wonderful opportunity for people who are good at their hands, who are talented, who like tangible work on a day-to-day basis, to go out there and do an apprenticeship and study alongside it, and perhaps become good at working in business, at accounting and things like that, and running a business, and a very successful business. And we'd often allude that on site you'll see the block laying subcontractor come to site in the Range Rover while the main contractor's there in the Ford Mondeo. These people are massively successful. Yeah. They make great wealth, great jobs, and they have wonderful businesses, and it shouldn't be frowned upon as it has been for the last 10, 15 years. We also have the issue, I think, in this industry, and I was discussing it earlier with Kate, whereby we have a lot of Irish people are not carrying out the trades anymore, particularly the wet trades. There's been such a very small throughput of people doing block laying, plastering and that. We've relied very heavily on Eastern European people coming in, doing that, but we run the risk of when a lot of the Eastern European people decide to go home, we don't have any domestic people carrying these trades, so we're making it very narrow and very difficult for ourselves. Modular construction, offsite construction is great, but you will still have conservation works. You still have traditional build projects required in certain areas because the site confines will dictate, and I feel we're making it quite difficult for ourselves unless we drive more people in the industry.
Yeah, it feels like there's been a decade or a decade and a half of movement in the wrong direction, and it's how to stop that. And part of that, as you've mentioned there, is definitely an awareness campaign. Kate, what would have helped you to know, say when you were in second year, third year, fourth year in school, what would have helped you to know that might have opened your eyes to the potential of a career in construction?
I think it's just so simple, it's just information. There's a huge lack of information within schools, particularly to girls, but also to young lads as well. There's a huge lack in any young people coming into construction. So I think it really does start from schools and at home. If you can't get the information from your school or your career guidance teacher about construction, look into it yourself. There's so many jobs. I think if you went into a school down the road now and said, tell me what a QS does, they won't be able to tell you. So I think if the jobs are explained and the roles are explained, and it's became more common knowledge about what different people do in the construction industry, what their roles are day to day, that more people would jump on it. They'd love to do it. So I think it's just simply a lack of information, and I think as well it comes from home as well. I think that thing about the construction industry, it's kind of is frowned upon still, especially the apprenticeships, and if you're getting a degree, maybe engineers and all that, that's okay for the lads, but it's also okay for the girls. An apprenticeship's perfectly okay. My best friend is an electrical apprentice, and she loves what she does, and she's so happy. So, do you think so? Is there an education piece that needs to be done to parents of secondary school students, saying, actually, a career in construction is not what it was when you were choosing your career?
I suppose this is a kind of a nationwide campaign that we hope will gain the relevant traction in that regard. But as an industry on a whole, we need to collectively reshape what it looks like and make it more attractive. And perhaps there's maybe on the back of this and other campaigns, maybe advertising campaigns, to demonstrate that it's a lot more than these kind of preconceived ideas of block laying in the rain. And I think a lot of people picture it as that. So we need to demonstrate the in-office roles, the design roles, the BIM roles and things like that. We need to explain what these are. And as Kate alludes there, that people understand what a quantity surveyor is. Yeah. And that was even evident to me when I met with the secondary schools to talk about the bursary scheme. People were saying to me, I want to be a quantity surveyor. And I was kind of asking, what does that mean? No idea. Absolutely no understanding of what it is. Whereas people know what an accountant is generally, or solicitor and so on, but there was no understanding of what this role meant or what it meant to carry it out in a day-to-day. So I think, what we're trying to sell here is a very dynamic industry to get into. It's something, if you become skilled at, you can travel worldwide, and it's worth taking note as well, back in the 20s, the 30s and that, the Irish built, London, New York, all of these cities. We were always seen as such a strong construction country, and we're still seen as that internationally. So it's just changing that perspective domestically, that people understand what it is, you know.
And people learn from seeing. So, for example, Kate, the work that you're doing, we mentioned it before we started recording, but it was such a high moment when you phoned me to say we have to change the title, because actually you were no longer Ireland's only female tower crane operator, and now there are two. And do you feel the weight of responsibility that you are shown up as a role model, not just to young women, but to young men and to young people entering construction?
I think it didn't really hit me about, like, I didn't really realise the problem even in construction when I got into it. Like, I kind of just waltzed in and I didn't even think about being the only female on site. Like, I just was there and I didn't care if I was the only female, it didn't bother me. But then when things started to get harder, you get remarks and stuff, then you start to realise, oh God, there is problems here and this is different. So then slowly it started to become, I actually didn't want to be in construction, so there's probably other people that don't even realise they're probably supposed to be in construction, you know. So I think that's kind of something, when I started to realise that, it became more evident, like, that it really is a problem, like, that people do need to just either do the research themselves, but it does need to be given to them as well. And there's nothing wrong, like I was saying earlier, about it's not just about being out in the rain and the muck. There's nothing wrong with being out in the rain and muck, like, you know. I love doing it myself. I love being out on site and doing physical work. So I might not look like it, but I do. So I think there's nothing wrong with either way, but it's not just out on site in the rain, like, there is both sides to it. So I think it's really important. I'm
delighted that Mark brought it up earlier about the cars that people drive onto site, because actually, as Kate was pulling up here today, she pulled up in a gorgeous BMW, and some of my team, who are a few years younger, a few years older, were looking out and saying, I'm in the wrong career. I thought that was interesting, because so surely there were friends of yours looking and saying, hold on, Kate's doing really well, driving a nice car, living in a nice apartment, travelling for work. They must be looking at you and going, gosh, a career in construction, maybe it's more than what I thought.
Yeah, it's funny, because actually all my friends would be either in construction, like my girlfriends, would be construction or farming. So we're not the typical women that you'd kind of see, but that's why we get along, I suppose. So I think I see other people there, they go to college and they're like, why do you're making money, or this, that and the other. Like, that's because I didn't go to college. I just went straight out onto site now. I probably will go back to college and I will probably be struggling for a few years, or, you know, trying to scrape my way through. But there is money to be made, and people say it's not all about money, but like, I'm really happy in what I do. Like, I'm really content, I'm really happy. And I had like the worst anxiety in leaving Surrey about what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? Then when COVID came, I wasn't going to go to Budapest. It was the worst thing ever. I had to work in construction for a year, and this was horrible. And then it's completely left my mind about veterinary or anything like that. Now it's gone out the window, and it was gone within a month, I'd say. So it's crazy, like, the way things can change if you just, like, I think it's, if people are into UI or something, try and get experience on site. Because I guarantee you, if people had more experience in it, they would love it. Yeah. More people would love it, because it's a brilliant industry. It's so rewarding.
So what's the most important message you want to get out with this campaign, I'm in construction? What's the most important thing you would like the next generation to learn from that?
I think it's just that people simply think of the construction industry, so they're so narrow-minded about it. Like, it's just not a nice, you have to work too hard, there's no money to be made, or so on and so forth. But like, I think it's just realising I think the construction industry has one of the most widest range of career possibilities. Like, you meet everyone that does loads of different jobs, like, and they're so interesting. Like, I was in the office last week with one of the girls. She's an engineer, but she's doing all design work, and I was like trying to get her to explain things to me about it, and it was so interesting. So I think if people just got information and realised, like, the scale and the huge amount of careers that there is in construction, like, surely there's one for them. Yeah. That's a great message. And Mark, today, apologies to anybody listening in on the podcast there, the sound quality might not be our usual standard, because we are out on site. We're on site in the offices of Townmore in HQ in Tullamore here, and there's building works going on around us.
It's great to be out on site. It's great to be able to bring Mark and Kate together here for such an important shout out to the next generation of talent. Yeah. Mark, from Townmore's point of view, what's the most important message? What do you need people to know?
Well, I suppose I want people to understand, firstly, the various roles that are available within this industry, that it's dynamic, that you have everything from on-site people, bricklaying, blocklaying, engineering, plastering, electrical, mechanical, whatever it is. So, it suits people who like to get their hands dirty, who like to get stuck in, who like to keep busy that way every day. Then you have people, tower crane operators, you have teleporter operators, you have through to, so some people love driving, that will suit them, or they love operating machinery. Then you're through to people who work in engineering, project management, site management, so on. And then you have, as you've seen today in our offices, you have people working in finance, HR, accounts, design, quality, health and safety. So, as Kate alluded, there's such a plethora of offerings in this industry. And you can kind of move between areas too, as I've done and as you've done as well. Like, you can, within the industry, you can certainly travel with it. I think one of the most pleasurable things, as I said earlier in the industry, is the tangible finished product. And you can work in a lot of things like professional services and so on, but you don't necessarily have something at the end to feel proud of. I always enjoy driving around Dublin or other places and actually looking at buildings you've built or you've refurbished or fitted out. Probably telling my wife, much to her annoyance at this stage, but there's something nice to kind of know you were part of that building. Or you're part of that project. So there's, and everyone, including our office staff here, they're all part of making that happen. So I think it's showing the diversity of roles, showing that it's dynamic, you can travel, you can make good money, you can be really, really successful in it, and changing that mindset from what I believe is an archaic view into what is now a progressive, exciting industry. So it's a mindset change is the end result we're trying to create here, and driving people into our industry where there's loads of room for growth and for promotion and for travel.
Excellent. Thank you both so much for joining me here today. It's great to be able to do this in person, and we would encourage anybody who's curious, and definitely the parents of teenagers who might want to share some information, to check out I'm in Construction, that campaign. Follow the hashtag I'm in Construction, and that's all we've time for today. But again, it was my absolute pleasure to bring you both together here. That was Mark Cronin, Associate Director of Townmore, and Kate Fahey, Ireland's first, but not only, female tower crane operator. My thanks to show producer Katie Tallon and to the production team at Hear Me Roar Media. And thank you to Place Engage for making these conversations possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out all of the other shows, the real estate and construction shows on iPropertyRadio from all around the world. And thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of Breaking Ground on iPropertyRadio.